There's a reason this conversation never really ends. No matter how often it's dismissed or buried under headlines, the question lingers. Are we really alone in the universe? And if we're not, have they already been here? On the Joe Rogan Experience, alien encounters don't show up as punchlines. They come quietly, in the stories of Navy pilots, in the cautious words of scientists, in memories that sound more like trauma than fantasy. These aren't always the loudest episodes, but they're the ones people come back to. Because it's not just the claims, it's the patterns. Details that repeat across decades, the impossible movement, the missing time, and the silence that follows just long enough for everyone to move on. Some say it's all imagination, others say we're being watched, and not by choice. Whatever you believe, one thing's hard to ignore. The guests who sit down across from Rogan don't all sound unhinged. They sound calm, certain. And maybe that's the most unsettling part. Because if even one of them is right, then none of this is science fiction anymore. Sometimes the most alien thing about an encounter is how ordinary it looks. In 2017, something strange entered our solar system. It was long, narrow, and moving fast. Faster than anything we'd ever tracked coming from interstellar space. It didn't act like a comet. It didn't behave like an asteroid. And it didn't make sense. Scientists called it Oumuamua, a Hawaiian word meaning a messenger from afar arriving first. But what that messenger was, that's still up for debate. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb stirred up the science world by suggesting something bold. This wasn't just a rock, it was a probe, possibly alien in origin, using solar radiation like a sail to glide through space. The shape was wrong, the spin was strange. It accelerated in a way we couldn't fully explain, without ejecting gas or debris like a comet should. Joe Rogan and his guests joke about it. If you were going to disguise an alien ship to pass through a hostile galaxy unnoticed, wouldn't you make it look like a big, boring rock? It's the perfect camouflage. No flashing lights, no heat signatures, just a silent, inert object drifting by. And here's the part that stings. We missed it. It was already receding from Earth before anyone even realized what it was. No one chased it. No probe was launched to intercept. Whatever answers it carried, they're gone now, fading into deep space. But the questions? Those are still getting louder. Some parts of this conversation feel too strange to be real, and that's exactly why they stick with you. Joe dives into one of the darkest, most fringe corners of alien speculation. The theory that Nazi Germany wasn't just obsessed with the occult, but may have believed they were in contact with something non-human. It starts with a thread that is historically confirmed. Nazi leadership, including figures like Himmler and Hess, had deep ties to ancient symbols, mystical rituals, and pseudoscience. They poured resources into esoteric research, via strange archaeological missions, and even attempted to create a new mythology to justify their empire. But then things take a turn. Some fringe researchers, and more than a few conspiracy theorists, claim that Nazi scientists were trying to channel outside intelligence, that they weren't just building rockets and bombs, but attempting telepathic communication with beings who offered knowledge in exchange for blood. Joe and his guests laugh nervously, but they don't completely dismiss it. They talk about the Vril Society, secret research into propulsion systems, and whispered reports of crafts being built using unknown physics. One claim even suggests that Nazis believed alien minds could meld with theirs, feeding them technology, blueprints, ideas too advanced to explain. None of it can be proven. Most of it sounds insane. But what makes it stick is how much the Nazis were willing to believe anything if it promised power. And if there was some kind of contact, even imagined, it still led to real-world consequences. And maybe that's the scariest part. Because if an advanced civilization did reach out to the wrong people, what would it even look like from the outside? Would it be called a breakthrough or just another war? Let's say somewhere out there, alien life exists. Now imagine they're not just out there, they're ahead. Not by decades, not by centuries, but by 1,000,000 years. That's the thought experiment that kicks off one of the wildest alien discussions Joe Rogan's ever hosted. And it starts with a simple, terrifying truth. If intelligent civilizations are even slightly common, then statistically speaking, some of them should have had an enormous head start. Joe and his guest break it down. Humans have had science, real science, for maybe 500 years, since Newton, since Copernicus. In that short window, we've launched satellites, left the planet, and now we're gearing up to colonize Mars. That's just 5 centuries. So, what does 1 million years of progress look like? Think about it. In 1 million years, a species could go from splitting atoms to bending space. They could master energy, time, even biology itself. We wouldn't be able to recognize their tools, their thoughts, or them. They might be machines, they might be consciousness without bodies, or something we can't even define. And here's the kicker. If we're headed for interstellar travel in the next few thousand years, any species that got there before us, they should have made themselves known by now. That's the core of the Fermi paradox, the question that haunts every serious discussion about extraterrestrial life. If aliens are real, where are they? That's when the conversation takes a darker turn. Maybe they are out there, and maybe they're hiding on purpose. While some stories live in the shadows, Commander David Fravor's account exploded in daylight, backed by video, radar, and the Pentagon itself. Fravor is a retired U.S. Navy pilot. In 2004, during a routine training mission off the coast of San Diego, he and his team were redirected to investigate something unusual. What they found was impossible. A white capsule-shaped object, smooth, featureless, about the size of a small jet, hovering and darting in the air without wings, engines, or any visible means of propulsion. It dropped from 80,000 feet to sea level in seconds, then took off again like it was playing with gravity. No sonic boom, no heat trail, just gone. The now famous Tic Tac UFO became one of the first pieces of footage acknowledged by the Department of Defense as real and unexplained. And when Fravor sat down with Joe Rogan, his calm military precision only made the story more chilling. He wasn't guessing, he wasn't speculating, he was there. Even stranger, he says sightings like this aren't rare, pilots just don't talk about them. What struck Rogan, and what sticks with viewers, is how normal Fravor seems. He doesn't act like a believer, he acts like a professional, describing something no one trained him to understand. And if he can't explain what he saw, then what else has the military kept under wraps? You don't have to believe every story. You don't have to accept every theory or trust every shaky video that claims to show a craft in the sky. But after a while, after the pilots, the physicists, the leaked files, the whispered warnings, it gets harder to laugh it off. Because they're not all saying the same thing, but they're all pointing in the same direction. There's a quiet pattern running through these conversations, a shape in the fog. And it's not just about what's out there. It's about what's already here, and how long it's been hiding in plain sight. Maybe we're not being ignored. Maybe we're being studied, protected, or warned. Whatever the answer is, it doesn't sound like fiction anymore. It sounds like something that's always been waiting, just beneath the surface, just outside the frame. And if even one of them is telling the truth, then it's already too late to pretend we're alone.